All right, this is the last time I'm doing it, Rick.
Okay.
This is the last Who farewell tour that I'm ever going to buy tickets for.
Did you actually buy them?
Yeah, I did. I got. I paid the $80 to be in the Who fan club to get the pre-sale.
Oh my God.
Because Pete needs to refinish a little bit more of his fucking boat, right? So I get the pre-sale code, and I log in at 9:30 just to make sure everything is okay, and I get into the waiting room, and I'm 16,000 in line or something. And I'm at this point, I'm like, I'm never going to get tickets, right? But I kind of stuck. I'm not sure if a lot of these people that were in the waiting room and then they saw the price of the tickets, they're like, screw this. They'll be back.
At their age, they might have died. They might have died while they were waiting. It's possible. So it's not a young crowd.
No. Well, we're like the youngest.
I know.
So I did end up getting tickets. Not great seats.
Okay.
But so while waiting in line in the queue, I started just Googling Who stuff, you know, whatever. And I found couple of fun videos. Okay.
All right.
And as you mentioned, the Who, they're not young anymore.
No, they're not.
And what happens to men when they get old? They get a little
cranky.
A little cranky.
Okay.
So I found this first, and you know how the Simpsons, they have an
they predict future,
right?
Yes.
They have the history of predicting future, right?
Yes.
So I found a video. This is here. Why don't you play the audio? And this is when the Who, when they were on the Simpsons back whenever, I don't know.
Yeah, like in the 80s. Or late 80s, maybe early 90s. Here we go.
How you doing out there, New Springfield?
To be honest, it's a little chilly.
Shut the fuck up, Marge.
We were expecting a bigger crowd, Homer.
Okay.
All right.
That didn't make it the air, by the way. That was censored. So as I was tiddling around the internet, I found this video that happened like 2 weeks ago when Roger Daltrey was playing live somewhere in the UK, I think.
Okay.
There you go.
Games found that would forget how good they were and how great the...
Hey, Pinball Wizard!
Just got to work it out, man.
Pinball Wizard! Pinball Wizard!
What?
Pinball Wizard!
Oh, fuck it. Oh, fed up with that. I've done too much.
Yeah, but we're not! Look, I've got your husband. Let's
Nothing was said, those sacred days you gave me. Thinking of the days.
It's not good as Pinball Wizard!
Shut the fuck up!
So there you go.
I love it.
Yeah, so the Simpsons again predicted the future, and Roger, little cranky.
Well, I love it. And you know what? If I have to just say I'm on Roger's side on this one because she had it coming. Right now it's time for Minutia Men.
The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie production on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is Minutia Men with Rick and Dave.
Well, you look great. You got the Big Bears shirt on.
You know, I notice that you say that to me a lot, that I look great.
Are you?
I'm thinking that you are not being sincere.
No, I think that you've lost a little weight, haven't you?
No, probably not.
Really?
Yeah. Over Lent, I lost a little bit of weight, but I'm sure I put it right back on.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some Pope stories.
I did cut my hair. I might have lost some weight there.
Okay. Well, give me the bald spot check.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Get a little testy about that. Yeah.
Old guys get cranky.
Well, we got a big show, and we're going to be talking about the Pope a little later.
Yes.
Because we're all a tither here in Chicago.
We both have Pope stories to share.
But this is... You know, we don't get job interviews anymore because we're too old.
Right.
We've aged out of the.
Well, I have an alert, a Google alert, whenever there's job openings for 60 plus people. It's funny; it just doesn't go off very often.
Let me see the filter: 60, radio producer, no other skills,
paper salesman,
right, gout, elephantitis, So yeah. But anyway, so AI. You're familiar with AI?
Sure,
obviously.
of course.
We've even used it for the show. Well, they're now using AI to interview people.
Yeah, I don't quite understand how this would work.
So on TikTok. which I'm spending actually far more time than I should be at my age. So this dude
That
comes
Roger
up.
Daltrey clip was from TikTok.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's exactly... Have you ever heard of this TikTok? It's great. You get all the
kids.
All the great
kids
videos.
are on there.
Anyway, so this dude on TikTok, Leo Humphreys, and this was reported by Newsweek, he went to a job interview via Zoom. Okay. The audio sucks, so we can't play the audio of it. But basically, he goes on a job interview. That's a Zoom interview. And then he gets on the interview, and it's an AI robot on the other end, right? And something glitches. Right, and they keep asking the same questions, and then he keeps answering, and it just is a cluster. But what it reminded me of the worst job interviews I've had over the years. And again, these are many, many years ago.
All right,
because I haven't had a job interview
to
ever.
hear these stories.
I think one of the worst was when I was getting a.
We're talking like the 1960s, 1970s.
This was close. It was the 80s.
Okay.
I think it was right after the first Who's farewell tour.
Okay,
so it was like 86 or whatever. It was for an advertising agency in Champaign. Penta. I even remember the name. And I even remember the guy who interviewed me. His name was Bali Ramakrishnan. I'm not making this up. So we get in there, and it's the formalities, and immediately he starts asking me. And keep in mind, this is when I was just out of grad school, so I'd lived in Champaign, the bubble, for 6 years. And he didn't ask me anything about advertising in the beginning. He asked me about current events.
Oh.
Because he wanted to see how well read I was, right?
And you didn't know anything.
The first question he asked is, he asked me, name our 2 senators of Illinois. I couldn't do it.
Wow.
I couldn't do it. And then I did know the vice president of the president, I think. Okay. But then he just started to quiz me on all these news stories. And I could tell at that point I wasn't going to get the job, right?
Holy mackerel.
And then he started asking me about advertising terms and whatever. And I didn't know anything. Yeah. And I remember just slinking out of that job interview thinking I'm never ever going to get a job, so that's why I went into paper.
You know, I had a similar advertising agency interview up here in Chicagoland area. And
do you remember the name?
No, it was one of those ones that have like extra names, like
Dewey, Cheatham and Howe.
Yes, exactly. It sounded like a law firm or something. But it was here in like the Arlington Heights area or something like that. And, I have a degree in advertising, but I never...
Did you tell them that I took that one quiz for you in order for you to get that?
I did not. That didn't come up. Okay. But it probably did in a way because they were asking me questions about, media buying and, the stuff that I hated about advertising, the cost per point and all that crap.
Did you go on this interview because your parents are going, when are you getting out of the basement?
Well, it was, how when you're on unemployment, which I was not, but when you're on unemployment, you have to show that you're trying. Right. My parents were essentially serving as unemployment, and so I would have to go in and say, "Today I applied. I sent out a tape to Logan, Utah, and to such and such, and then I went for a real interview in Arlington Heights, and I had." No idea what the guy was talking about. I said, well, I write funny ads. He goes, yeah, we don't do that. Like, okay. Well, I don't think this is going to be for me.
What about the Brown's Chicken when you became second breader? Were you second breader?
Well, I had a guy who got me in. He got me in. And so there was no questioning of me. I just, here's Rick. He's going to be working with us now. That sort of thing.
So you had no job interview or anything?
No job interview. But, I did get called into the manager's office a few times. I think I've told this story where she said to me, Rick, what kind of food do we serve here? And I said, chicken. She goes, what's it? What type of chicken? Like, fast food? She goes, yeah, what's the first word of that? Yeah, you're not living up to that part. Like, okay, gotcha. I'm still like that, by the way. But anyway, I have a story for you. This is about our beloved Pope. Mm-hmm. Chicago has been agog with excitement since it came out. Right before we taped last week, we found out that we have a new Pope and that he's from Chicago. And he's not only from here, he's from the south side of Chicago, which got me thinking that we have our first Pope ever who is fluent in Dese, Dems, Dares, and Dos.
The prayers.
I mean, that is cool. Isn't it cool to have that? And so I sat down and I started writing a song, as I am wont to do. And the line from the south side of Chicago came to my mind, so I wrote it to Bad Bad Leroy Brown.
I heard it on WGN. I was driving, and
there you go. I sent it to John Landecker. He played it on the air. I asked if we could play it here too. And again, it's called Dese, Dems, Dese, and Dose, and we'll play it for you right now.
On the south side of Chicago, there was a teenage altar boy who was sent out east to become a priest and spread that south side joy. He took his Dems to Villanova, he took his D's down to Peru, and now everybody knows he took his dose to Vatican City too. And he's a pope, south side pope, White Sox fan that's spreading hope. And everywhere he goes, he breathes Dems, Dese, and Dose.
There we go.
Very good. Well,
Yes, that's Dese, Dems, and Dose.
you know, Landecker still has some pipes at his.
Yeah, he's not bad.
You know,
Yeah.
Daltrey.
Yeah, he's better than me singing it. I tried singing it, and I'm happy he sang it.
So we got a review here. This is from Delebi.
All right.
And this was just a few days ago on Amazon. Such a fun podcast that isn't too long. Love the guests and fun banter. Rarely am I disappointed. And that's
Okay.
from, again, Delebi. Thank you very much.
I like that, too. All right, it's time for another feature. We call this Studio Walls.
Time now for Studio Walls.
And the words of the prophets were written on the studio walls. Rick and Dese.
So this is the part of the show where we dip into the Rick and Dave archives, and we often play a clip from our other show, Minutia Men Celebrity Interview, and that's going to be what we do this week too, because it was Bono's birthday this week. Now, of course,
this is their last tour too, isn't it?
Is it?
I thought I read that they're hanging it up after Vegas or something. Are they doing like a big sphere thing or something?
I don't know.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't know.
Look it up, folks. But Bono's birthday, which led me to go to this interview that we did with Amy Shields. If you remember, she is an Irish actress,
Which I can listen to all day
I know.
long.
I love her voice. Yeah. She started in Twin Peaks. She was in that show, and we had her on. And I had just come back from Ireland. So I was curious about something about Bono and the fact that they don't like him there. And this is what led to this discussion. But the other thing I discovered, and this is, I have to, every Irish person now I ask this question of, and I'm sorry I'm doing this to you, but you're on the show. Everyone that I talked to about U2, the band U2, hated U2. I was like, so we were in Dublin. I said, I'd like to see some of the places where U2 played. Like, oh, forget U2. They absolutely had. Everyone told me the same joke. What's the difference between Bono and God? Do you know the answer?
I don't.
A God doesn't think he's Bono. But I heard that everywhere. What is going on? Why don't people like U2?
I can't speak for the masses. I can tell you that I love them.
Okay,
I am a huge fan. Actually, some of them grew up in Malahide, my village. I remember Adam Clayton's parents' house. We used to hang out in the green that was there. And I think he also had an apartment at one point in the village. I mean, I sound like a stalker now, but I really love U2.
Well, that's
and I find it terrible that people would, he's one of our finest exports.
Yeah.
I think their music is incredible. They have put us on the map in such a beautiful way. And on a time where, the 80s, when we were such a poor country, I believe, and, they really made a mark. I think a lot of Irish musicians have. And I find, there is begrudgery there. It's specific. It's like if they leave the island.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
There's something fishy about them leaving the island. Who do they think they are,
Yeah.
So we're super welcoming to visitors, but not necessarily to our own.
That's funny.
And I've noticed there's a new movie out with oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name now, the guy that created Riverdance.
Michael
Flatley
from
right?
Chicago.
So Michael Flatley,
Chicago.
He's on TV being interviewed about his new film, and he's produced it, directed it, starred in it, funded it, whatever. And people are slagging him off, and I'm like, do you know how hard it is to get anything made ever? No matter whether you have money, presence, whatever. I mean, it's still hard. And he did a great job. I believe I haven't seen it, but without even seeing it, people were teasing him. Like, how dare he? And you're thinking, that guy did so much for us. He put Riverdance, he put Irish dancing on the map all over the world. And by the way, Irish dancing is really ugly.
There she is, Amy Shields.
I remember that interview. Excuse me. She was hitting on me at the end, wasn't she?
She was. At some point,
why don't we play that part? Let's play that part.
We're never playing that part. At some point, you started talking about video games.
Video games, that's right.
Yes.
And is she a gamer too?
She's a gamer too. And when you told her about the DFS,
because I was lauded for my initials at the arcades in Champaign, it stirred her loins. I think
it stirred her a little bit. It did. But if you want to check out the entire interview, including where she starts hitting on Dave. That's episode number 109 of Minutia Men Celebrity Interview.
So, thinking about Catholicism, we just talked about Ireland, obviously, and the Pope. Well, as we talked, he's from Chicago.
He is.
And naturally, the city restaurants around town are wasting no time turning this into a divine cash grab. Right?
That's who we're all about here.
Let's be honest, it's only fair considering what the church has done to your people over the past 2,000 years. Let's grab some of that cash back, right? So this is from our religion desk, which, let's be honest, doesn't do a lot of work on this show. Yeah. So what they did is we compiled a list of food items and menu items in Chicago that are now in honor. And this happened, over the last 6 days, whatever, right? So first off, Portillo's, right? Portillo's, they've renamed its Italian beef sandwich the Leo. Okay. And the sandwich features seasoned Italian beef dipped in gravy and topped with your choice of either sweet, hot, or mixed peppers. And that's symbolizing the holy trinity of flavors. All right. So it's basically the old Italian.
It's an Italian beef sandwich
with a pun, basically.
But I will say this: that is pretty much the signature dish of Portillo's. So it's not like they're handing over, naming French fries after them or something.
I know, but there's something about their Polish hot dog that is, and the Pope. Well, he's not. Was he only Poland?
He might be Poland. Prevost. I don't know what that is.
Brando's Pizza in the far south suburbs is now offering a deep dish tribute to the South Side's most sacred son, the Poperoni Pizza.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, and that features triple pepperoni arranged in the shape of a cross, fresh mozzarella halos, and basil garnish for the soul. The crust is infused with garlic oil blessed by Nana, and diners can opt to have their pie lightly anointed with spicy chili oil. It's served with a side of Red Wing reduction dipping sauce, because even a pope deserves a little Merlot with his marinara.
Wow!
Okay. And the tagline is "Forgive us our carbs. Forgive us our carbs as we forgive those who eat gluten free."
See, now I would have had fun writing that in that advertising agency. They would have just rejected it.
Yeah. Well, and do you know it's good now that you're not vying for these jobs that you didn't get even then? Because now ChatGPT is going to kick your ass anyway.
Yeah, you should hear their Pope song. It's much funnier than mine.
Pasta El Dante in Orland Square.
Yeah.
Okay. It's called the Macaroni and Jesus.
Okay. Hey.
The heavenly twist on a comfort food. Favorite features elbow macaroni baptized in a holy blend of aged cheddar, Parmesan, and a hint of sacramental wine reduction.
Like it.
For the devoutly hungry, there's an option to add Lamb of God sausage crumbles.
So are we the most Catholic city in America right now? I think we
so.
are.
Well, Chicago's a pretty...
It's always been Catholic
city. Looking for some Asian? Okay, you can. Okay, that may have been not, but it
doesn't sound right.
Looking for some Asian cuisine?
Okay, yeah.
You can genuflect your way to Happy Dragon in Burbank for the Rosary Roll. Okay, and that is a sushi roll with a string of pearls, which is caviar beads.
Wow,
and spicy tuna, symbolizing the beads of the Rosary, served with holy water, which I think is just basically water. Now, let's be honest, my people.
Yeah.
we're not going to just overlook a marketing bonanza like this, okay?
A money-making opportunity.
So go to Shelley's in Rockford. Okay, it's a nice deli in Rockford,
right.
and you can get the Crucifixins combo. The Crucifixins combo is heavenly stack of pastrami and corned beef, crucified between 2 slices of rye bread with Swiss cheese nailed on the top. This one I think might be a little dicey, right?
Wow.
It's slathered with a divine spread of holy horseradish and resurrection Russian dressing, then garnished with pickles. Well, you're going to like this. Pickles sharp enough to pierce the veil, topped with sauerkraut that's been blessed by the deli saints themselves. But it's not just food. It's bars, right?
Okay.
This is from Papa Pat's.
Wow, this is all in the last week.
Right. Papa Pat's in Hazelcrest is offering a drink called the Holy Sea Breeze.
Okay.
It's the Holy Sea Breeze.
I
don't know if you got that reference.
I get it, yes.
Vodka, cranberry, pineapple juice, and a splash of soda served in a chalice-shaped glass with a mini umbrella shaped like the papal hat. I got to get the little umbrella that's shaped like the little hat, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So come to Chicago. For those of you who are not living in the Chicago and you want some Pope-inspired food, you fly into Midway, though. Don't fly into O'Hare. Fly into Midway.
That's a good point. You fly into Midway and you're already in the neighborhood that is a big Pope area. All right, I have a story for you. It's called Living Up to the Legends, Dave. And there's a new website out called agegeek.com. And you can go on this site and type in your birth date and find out what other great people in history were accomplishing when they were exactly your age. Now,
well, you know what John Lennon was doing at my age? Nothing.
Dead. Yeah.
So I'm accomplishing more with this podcast.
Here's the thing. I typed your birthday in. We'll get to it in a second. There's a lot fewer celebrities because how many of them are gone? Yeah. But my first thought when I saw this was my dad would have just absolutely loved this.
Because he would have said, right. Yeah. Well, you didn't get the Arlington Heights job? As Christopher Columbus on this day discovered
He did bring up to me when I was 5 that Mozart was composing concertos when he was my age.
Right.
When I was 5.
And you're eating glue, Rick. How's that paste sandwich, Ricard?
So I typed in September 12th.
Okay, sure.
1963.
Okay, all right.
So 61 years old. And
so anybody wants to steal my identity, now you have the exact...
Well,
why don't you just tell my social security number,
We've mentioned your birthday on this show before. So, would you like to know? I'll give you a couple of choices here. Ernest Hemingway, Andrew Jackson, Dwight Eisenhower, J.R.R. Tolkien, or Toni Morrison. Those are the only 5 celebrities that they listed here.
What were they again? I'm sorry.
Hemingway.
I don't want to.
Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson. Let me do Andrew Jackson.
Okay.
Did he have a slave or something? Or did he?
108 days from now, Dave.
Yeah.
If you are as cool as Andrew Jackson, you will be inaugurated as the president of the United States.
Okay. So I've got 108 days.
108 days.
All
yep.
Right. I got time. Who else is there?
You got Eisenhower, Tolkien.
Eisenhower. So Eisenhower at 60. So that would be when he was 61, right?
Yeah, 217 days from now, Dave.
Did he invade?
No, he's elected as president of the United States.
Okay.
We're basically at president age. How about Hemingway? You want to try Hemingway?
Sure.
Because I think this one you could actually pull off. At 60, in the next 100 days, at 61 years, 11 months, and 11 days old, he killed himself in Idaho.
Yeah, I could.
So I think you could pull that one off.
I could beat that.
You can. You've got 100 days.
So let's do the podcast on the 99th day. Did you do? I assume you did your birthday, didn't you?
Yeah, mine are these exact same people with different day totals.
Oh, because that's all that's left for us.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. So yeah, it's not the sort of thing.
What is the website?
It's called agegeek.com. Be sure to check it out. All right, it's time.
I wonder how much time was spent creating this website.
Yeah, I know.
We got to get those guys on the.
That's not a bad idea. It's time for a new feature.
Oh,
a new feature.
Really?
I've decided instead of doing the celebrity potpourri, It can just be any email that we get for the week. It's like a mailbag sort of thing.
So you did this just kind of on your own?
I did.
So this executive order?
I did.
You totally trumped it.
Is it called Dave and Rick, or is it called Rick and Dave?
Well, you're trumping me.
All right, here we go. Here's the feature.
Say, you heard about this new electronic mail?
That new method of exchanging messages between people using electronic devices?
Yeah, what's it called?
Email for Rick and Dave.
All right. And you're going to love the beginning of this email because it says Dave and Rick.
Okay. I love this person.
All right.
Yes,
yeah. Dave and Rick. Dane mentioned that you two had discussed our adventure with a catapult in Slovakia. And if you listened to last week's show, Dave told the story about Dane, our friend Dane Placco, and his brothers getting on some sort of a catapult and getting catapulted. He says here, to clarify, I was the stupid one who followed through on the dare from Scott to try the catapult. My thinking at the time was, I weigh over 200 pounds. There is no way that this can launch me. I did get airborne, and I think Scott has it on video somewhere. Definitely a dumb thing to try. That's Rich Placco sending that in.
So I was right. It wasn't one of those stories that I just dream. It was an actual...
It was an actual story. All right, we have people to thank. Who are we thanking?
Well, the Romans or whoever that created the catapult, right? Ed Silla. Well, let's go Tony Lasano first. He's our main guy.
Yes.
Tony, executive producer, good guy. I mean, we couldn't be here without him. Ed Silla, who distributes.
Yep.
Great guy.
With the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Yeah. And,
Amy Shields for talking to us.
Absolutely. And we have another show, too, called Minutia Men Celebrity Interview. Mm-hmm. Check that out.
We've got the new video. The new audio is up right now.
Yep. John St. Augustine, Randy Hundley. And we'll be back again next week.
And by the way, our guest, John.
Yeah.
The whole Lane Tech Schurz High School thing.
I've seen
He's
this.
a little... I think
he's got some bitterness there.
He's got some bitterness.
Well, I like the fact that two of you were going at it on Facebook. Mm-hmm. But, of course, the first strike was sent by you. You taunted him with a Lane Tech over Schurz victory.
Well, he ripped on me in the original post.
Yes, I know. But then,
what is it? A little geeky that I'm spending 3-4 hours a day finding footage of Lane beating Schurz at like 1957 and posting it on his Facebook feed. No, is that petty?
It's perfectly normal. We'll be back again next week with a brand new episode of
Minutia Men.
The proceeding was a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Find our other great shows on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at RadioMisfits.com. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?